Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. If you are new here, I have been on keto for about 6 months and I have learned a lot of things and I want to share those things with you guys. And I want to share with you that yes, you can have bread on keto, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make it. And it takes pretty simple ingredients. A couple of these take, maybe just one of them takes kind of some special ingredients, but believe me, when you buy these ingredients, they last forever because you don't use them that often. So if you want to see some keto bread recipes, yes, again, yes, you can have bread on keto, then stay tuned. There are some bread alternatives out there. And yes, some of them don't taste very good. It's just like any recipe that you try. Some of them you just have to, they're hit and miss. But I have tried all of these keto bread recipes that I'm sharing with you. I guarantee you, you guys will love them. Okay, I won't say guarantee. I will tell you, they're a lot better than some out there. And I have tried these ones. These are my tried and true keto bread recipes, and I wanted to share them with you guys. So I wanted to have a video that I had all the different bread recipes that I like to make, since being on keto, all in one place. So you may have seen some of these in some of my videos. What we're gonna have in this video, I'm gonna share with you a keto biscuit recipe. I'm gonna share with you a keto pizza dough recipe. You're also gonna have 2 different keto bread recipes that you can use for toast, for sandwiches. Here's the thing. I am the only one in my household on keto. So I have made a bread loaf one time. It was disgusting. Did not like it at all. And it was supposed to be a sandwich bread recipe. It was disgusting as far as I was concerned. And I have found that these 2 single serving, I think they're like 2 to 3 servings, but honestly they don't have enough carbs in them to really matter if you ate the entire serving. This is what I like to use because, like I said, I'm the only one on keto, so if I just need to whip it up real fast, it's super simple, quick, easy to throw together, and that's what I'm going to show you guys today. So 2 keto bread recipes, pizza dough, biscuits, bagels, all your keto bread needs are taken care of, all in one video, so let's get into the video. Okay, so this first one is going to be an eggless keto bread, which is important to some people because some people do not like the eggy taste of the keto breads, which I don't mind it too much as long as it's not super strong. But this one is an eggless one. I will have actually all the recipes linked down below to the original sources, so those will all be down there. I cannot remember who this one came from. I think this came from the Keto Chef or Diet Chef, or I can't remember his name. But anyway, I will have links to all of these recipes down below. And I also have links to any of the ingredients that I'm using because these are the ingredients I'm using that I know that work for you or work for this recipe. So that way you guys know, I don't know if ingredients always matter, but just so you know. So the first thing that's going to go in here is going to be the almond flour. So we have a 1/2 cup or 56 grams. Sometimes it's better to weigh out your dry ingredients. You just get a better consistency and a better outcome with your keto stuff. So this is 56 grams. Now the almond flour that I use that has the least amount of carbs and it works really well because of how fine that it's ground is the kind from Costco. It's the Kirkland almond flour. I think you can only get it at Costco. I don't know. Can you buy that stuff on Amazon? I don't think so, but I'll see what I can find. But if you have a Costco membership, I highly recommend their almond flour. It's cheap. It's $12.99 for like 3 pounds of it. Definitely affordable. So 56 grams of almond flour. Now next up is going to be 15 grams or 1/2 scoop of 0 carb protein powder. And I will have the bag right here of the kind that I got. I got it off of Amazon. This stuff is 0 carbs. It's just unflavored protein powder. Let me show it to you. It's right here. It's Isopure. It's just a whey protein, unflavored. You can see here, 0 carbs, 25 grams of protein. So we're using about 1/2 scoop or 15 grams. The next thing is going to be some confectioner sugar. This is what I use for the confectioner sugar. Is this Swerve brand. And then, so I have that in here. So it's a 1/2 teaspoon of confectioner sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, then a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Now that's also 2 grams of confectioner sugar, 3 grams of baking powder, and then just a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. It didn't have grams in the recipe. The xanthan gum I personally get in the bulk section at my grocery store. It's super expensive. It's like $10 a pound usually, but I usually only buy like $4 or $5 worth, and it lasts me for months, you guys. You only use a little bit. 1/4 teaspoon goes a long way of xanthan gum. It's like a thickener. I use it in gravies and sauces, and I will be having a video with gravies and sauces coming out as well. Okay, and now lastly for this, I'm gonna actually kind of stir this up a little bit just to make sure everything kind of gets nice and incorporated. And the last thing is to add in 70 grams of water. So I'm gonna add that in, and I'm gonna mix it around to make up the batter. Okay, so in his recipe, he uses a square like Tupperware dish. I don't have any plastic Tupperware dish. This is a glass one. It's kind of a rectangle. I had a square, but I think they're all in the refrigerator with meal preps in them. So I'm just gonna try this one and see how it works. I usually use a bigger one. So this is going to his makes 4 servings. What I could do, I'm hoping to do with this is once it comes out, I'm gonna cut it in half this way and cut it in half that way to make 4 servings. Again, I usually just use the whole recipe. This one, if you use the entire recipe and you don't split it up, it's 4 grams for this entire, for net carbs for this entire recipe, or each serving is 1 net carb. And that's if you use the ingredients that I'm using. The almond flours can definitely vary. So I'm just gonna spread this out really well until it's all nice and even. Okay, so now this is going to go in the microwave for 1 to 2 minutes, depending on your microwave. In his recipe, he says 2 minutes is good for him because he has a really weak microwave. I'm gonna do mine for 90 seconds. That seems to be what is the sweet spot for my recipe. I would probably try to do it 1 minute, check it, and then do it for 2 minutes. Mine's an 1100 watt microwave, so I'm gonna do that for 90 seconds, and we'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Oh, I also sprayed this with cooking spray. That's very important. Sorry, missed a really good step, really important step. So spray it with cooking spray. Okay, so here is that first one right out of the microwave. It's super piping hot, but you can see it's spongy, and I think this will work really good. I'm just gonna cut it in half that way and cut it in half that way. And then these breads are always best toasted, I find. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna let this cool a little bit, and we're gonna go to the next one. And then once all these are all done, then I will show you kind of what they look like when they are all cooled off and cut in half, and you can see the serving size and whatnot. So let's move on to the next recipe. Okay, so this next one, for the entire 3 servings, this one, it was, in the original recipe, it said it made 3 servings. Each serving was like 0.37, or no, point something carbs, but this whole entire recipe is like a 1 net carb. So it was like 0.33 or something for 1 serving of it. So this is very low carb. First thing you need to do is some almond flour. So you need 2 tablespoons of almond flour. Again, I'm using that same almond flour from Costco. And then you need 2 tablespoons of ground flax. I don't have my original bag for this because I just keep mine in a mason jar. But this is the Bob's Red Mill Golden Flax. I will have it linked down below. I'll also try to remember to put a picture of it here on the screen. So you need 2 tablespoons of that, and you need 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then just some salt. And I just use Himalayan pink salt. I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it in there. And we want to go ahead and mix this up really well, because if you add, the thing with almond flour and with flax is that it can clump pretty easy. Same as like psyllium husk. If you ever see any recipes with psyllium husks in it, it can clump pretty easy. So you just want to always give it a good stir before you add any liquids to it. The next thing we're going to add in is 1 tablespoon of melted butter. I accidentally did too much butter, so that's why I'm doing it with a measuring spoon. And then we are going to add in a beaten egg. Make sure your egg is beaten pretty well, because that way you don't have any, if you don't beat it very well, sometimes you'll have the egg white kind of inside of your bread. You kind of get these weird pockets of egg white. So you want to make sure your egg is beaten really well. And then I'm going to give this a good stir before we add in the next ingredient. Last last ingredient is going to be a 1/4 cup of mozzarella cheese. I'm going to give that a good mix. And then we are going to let this kind of sit for about 30 seconds or so, and that's just to let the flour, the almond flour, and the flaxseed kind of start to activate a little bit with that baking powder. It just kind of makes for a fluffier bread. So you want to let it sit for about 30 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and put it in the dish and cook it up. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to use a round dish that I have sprayed with cooking spray. You really just use whatever you have on hand. I just have a lot of different glass dishes because that's what I use for my meal prepping. I prefer the glass ones. I do have some plastic ones that I use, but that's mainly to transport my meal preps to work. But as far as storing, I like to store in these glass ones. So I'm just gonna put this mixture in here. And this is going to go in the microwave for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So in the original recipe, she says if you split this up into 3 different separate ramekins or separate containers to make 3 separate servings, you can do them for 90 seconds each one. But if you're doing the whole entire serving at once like I do, and I just cut it into thirds, then you want to do 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Again, that's for a full power microwave, so you may need to adjust for your microwave. If you have more of a lower wattage microwave, you'll want to do it for more time. Okay, so here is this one out of the microwave. And as you can tell, it's not very thick, so it is three pretty thin slices, but to be honest, I usually just cut it in 2. So I'm gonna let this cool. It's very hot right now in my hands. I'm gonna let this cool. Again, I will show you both of those keto breads at the same time, but we're gonna move on to the bagels next. Okay, so the first thing you wanna do for the bagels, you wanna go ahead and preheat your oven at 375 degrees. And then also have some sort of baking sheet with some parchment paper on there and get that ready. And then we'll move on to the rest of the ingredients. So you're gonna need that same protein powder that we talked about earlier. So we're gonna use 40 grams or 1/2 cup of this. We're gonna use that same almond flour from Costco, 1 cup or 100 grams of that. And then we're also going to need the xanthan gum and the baking powder. And then also some salt. So you need 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum and 1 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so we have the protein powder, 1/2 cup or 40 grams. The almond flour, 1 cup or 100 grams. We have the 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum, the 1 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I use the pink Himalayan salt as usual. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a good whisk before we add in the water. Now there's some bagels out there that are like the fathead dough bagels, which we're gonna be doing fathead dough here in a second when I show you the pizza dough. But this one is not. I find that with the fathead dough ones, I really like those bagels. They just don't rise as much. This one rises a little bit more, but probably not as much as your typical bagel that you're used to. So just keep that in mind that these are not, they're gonna be a little bit flatter, but they definitely give you that bagel taste, especially since we are gonna be using some of this. This is the like everything but the bagel seasoning. Trader Joe's has some. I don't have a Trader Joe's super close to me. Also, you can get some at Walmart. I have the Walmart version, the Trader Joe's version, and I also have this version from Dax. So it doesn't matter what kind you have. You can also make your own. I think the recipe actually that I'm going to be linking may have the ingredients on there. So anyway, that's all mixed up. And then now we're going to add in 1/2 cup of hot water, and I'm just going to whisk that in, and we're going to get this all nice and mixed up, and I'll be right back. Okay, this part we're going to use our hands. So we have wet hands, and it's just so we can get the dough balls, because it's really sticky dough, as you can see, super sticky. So I'm just going to measure out as even as I can, 4 balls. I think they said this recipe makes 5, but that would be really small bagels, so I did 4. Okay, so now we're going to kind of poke a hole in the middle here so we have more of a bagel shape. And then next, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this everything but the bagel seasoning, but I'm going to wash my hands first. Okay, so I'm just going to sprinkle all of this on top. Not all of this. That'd be a lot. And yes, I checked this recipe that I'm going to link down there for you guys. Will have the how to make your own bagel seasoning. So I sprinkled that on top. This is going to go into a 375-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes, depending on your oven. Mine tends to cook a little bit fast, and so mine will probably take the 12 minutes, but definitely check. I would say check after 10 to 12 minutes, and then see if you need to increase it longer. Okay, so while those bagels are cooking, there's about a minute and a half left or so, about 2 minutes left. I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you about another keto bread alternative, which is a truffle. Truffles are such a fantastic keto bread alternative as well. They are yummy, they're super good. Also, I did do a keto BLT truffle video. I'll put that footage in this video so you can see how I made that truffle. It's just one version of a truffle. There's so many different versions out there. This BLT one is my favorite way to make a truffle, and so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll go ahead and put that footage in here. And then also I'm gonna show you the pizza dough recipe, and I'm just gonna show you an entire pizza that I made with it. That way you can see from start to finish how it turns out as a pizza. So the bagels are almost done, so we're gonna get those out. I'm gonna show you these other two bread recipes, how they've cooled. I'm gonna cut them. These have been cooling. This one you can see it's nice and solid. This one's a little bit less firm, but that's really common with this type of bread. So like I said, you can cut this one in thirds, which is what the recipe is supposed to be, 3 servings. But honestly, you guys, I'd rather just do 2 servings, and you may all wanna use a lot sharper knife than I did. Okay, so here is that. You can just toss it right in the toaster, put it in a toaster oven, toast it in a skillet. Either one of those could work. This one, I'm just gonna cut this one, I think I'm gonna cut it in half this way. And then my dogs came running because they can smell the food. See, look at that, you guys. You can put that in the toaster. Again, you can do it in a skillet if you don't have a toaster or toaster oven. Again, look at that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and toast these up so you can see what they look like toasted. And you could use these like this one. I love with avocado egg toast, so good. This one I like honestly with just some butter and peanut butter. I mean butter and jelly, or just some peanut butter spread on there. Again, super yummy. But you guys, you can have bread. Isn't that amazing? That you can have bread. You can use this. I mean, this would just make a great sandwich even. So let's look at the bagels. Okay, I cut one open so you could see. They're still super hot. You can probably see the steam. I wasn't the best at making them pretty even, but I think I did a pretty good job. But here's one cut in half. Oh, you can see that steam. It's the bottom. They probably could have cooked a little bit longer, but I think they're okay. They're not doughy or anything in the middle. But doesn't that make this makes such a great breakfast sandwich? You just put an egg in there, put some like Canadian bacon or some ham, or just some egg and bacon or egg and sausage and cheese. You guys, these make fantastic bagel sandwiches, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw these in the freezer. These freeze really well. Put them in the freezer. Then next week I already have some meal prep done and ready to go. And yeah, super yummy. So the next thing I'm going to show you is a biscuit recipe. I have made these a couple different ways. They make great sandwiches. They make really good biscuits and gravy. They are so simple. They're just a simple drop biscuit. I personally use my brownie pan for them, which came from, what is that place? Pampered Chef. But you can use any pan for them. I just prefer them to be kind of shaped, but you don't even have to use any kind of pan like that. But that's what you're gonna see in this clip, is me using the brownie pan. They're great for a chicken pot pie. I've done it for so many things. I'm gonna link all the videos down below that I have used the biscuits in, and that way you can see the different ways to use it. But let's get into the biscuit recipe next. So this recipe comes from a site called Kirby Cravings. So in my bowl, I have 1 1/2 cups of almond flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, some salt, onion salt, garlic powder, and some dried chives. And so I'm going to set that aside and work on the wet ingredients. So in this bowl, I'm combining 1/2 cup of sour cream, 2 eggs, and 4 tablespoons of butter that you want to let cool so it doesn't scramble the eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and whisk all that together and slowly add it to the dry ingredients. And actually, I now am adding the chives into the bowl. So you want to go ahead and fold in a 1/2 cup of shredded cheese, mix that together really well. And then you want to add it to a greased muffin tin, but I'm using the Pampered Chef brownie pan, which I love. So you want to go ahead and bake those at 425 degrees for about 10 minutes. So just a warning, you guys, these may be dangerous to have around because these biscuits are fantastic. I just can't even describe just how good they are. So you want to crack 1 egg into a bowl, whisk it up. Then you're going to add in a 1/2 cup of shredded cheese. Any kind of cheese will do. I myself love Colby Jack, so that's what I'm using. For this particular recipe, I'm also adding in some seasonings to the truffle mixture. So you want to add in some onion salt, some garlic powder, and some red pepper flakes. Use any seasonings you want. I just really like to season them up for sandwiches. And lastly, I'm going to also add in some chopped green onions. Give that a good stir, and now it's time to truffle. So I'm using this mini waffle maker from Dash. I know y'all have seen it all over the place. I got mine on Amazon. I will link it down below. I've heard you can get them at Target. I don't have a Target nearby, so Amazon was my go-to. So now you want to add in 1/2 of your mixture to your hot mini waffle maker. And just a little tip, I've noticed that if I hold down the top, which is super hot, so be careful, but if you hold down the top, they come out just a little bit crispier. And here is the first one. Now it's time to take the rest of the mixture and make your second truffle. Oh my gosh, this one turned out beautiful. Look at that. Oh, I love it. So now it's time to assemble the sandwich. So I'm spreading a little bit of mayo on each of the truffles. Then I'm going to top one of them with some lettuce, some tomato, and finally some bacon. So you want to top it off with the other truffle, and there you go, you guys. So in a bowl here, I have 1.5 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. I am using the cheese from Costco. And then also in the bowl, I have 3 tablespoons of cream cheese. So I'm going to mix this together, then put it in the microwave for 1 minute. I'm going to give it a good stir, put it back in the microwave for 1 more minute. So meanwhile, I am mixing together the rest of the ingredients. I have 3/4 cup of almond flour, 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning, and salt and pepper. I also have 1 egg ready to go in. So now that that cheese mixture is done, I'm going to add in the almond flour mixture and the egg. And you guys, this dough came out perfect, and this was the first time I ever made it. And it's perfect. It just turned out great. If the dough starts to get too stringy, that you can put it back in the microwave for 1 more minute to soften it up again. I didn't have to do that. Now, since I don't have a round pan, I'm going to make a rectangle pizza. So my pan is lined with parchment paper so it doesn't stick. Now I'm just stretching the crust out, and this dough actually was surprisingly really easy to work with. I didn't have any issues at all. So you want to go ahead and pop this into a 425-degree oven for about 8 minutes, and here's what it looks like when it's all done. So I went ahead and made my own pizza sauce. I just used tomato sauce that I added some garlic powder, onion, salt, Italian seasonings, and red pepper flakes to. And then went ahead and added on some mozzarella cheese and then the toppings of salami, pepperoni, and green peppers. And then I put it back in the oven for about another 5 minutes or so until the cheese was nice and melted. So I was extremely happy with this recipe. I thought the dough was really good. Now it doesn't come out really crisp like pizza dough, so I just want to give you a warning on that. If you're like somebody who likes really crispy pizza, this is definitely not for you. I don't know if there's other recipes out there that it may be a crispier dough, but for me, it was fantastic. I plan on making this very often, if not every single week, because there's so many pizza possibilities out there. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some ideas for some keto breads and that you won't feel deprived while you're on keto. We got bagels, we got pizza crust, we got some biscuits, we got 2 different kinds of bread. I think I got you covered. So also, and the truffle. Can't forget the chaffle. Let me know down in the comment section if you are excited to try these, which ones that you've already tried before, which ones that you think you can't wait to try. And if you do try any of these, would you please tag me on social media so I know that you guys are enjoying the recipes. I will put all my Instagram and all that is down below in the description box as always. Again, check out that area down there. You're gonna see recipes, you're gonna see some different chaffle videos I will link, plus any other videos that I've used these particular breads in so you can see how I have used them. Let me know also down in the comment section if there's any other kind of keto bread that I missed that you may want me to see if I can keto-fy. Let me know and I'll see what I can find out. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, I hope you will take a moment to do so, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.